Okay, so started recording. Okay, so I have shared my screen, so hope you can see my screen.
Right.
So I'll just talk about the Fusion application before we get into configurations or the basic. Okay, so now in terms of Fusion application, so widely it is the cloud, but it's not limited only to the cloud application. So we can opt even for the on-premise. Okay, so this is first thing. And second thing is that in terms of cloud, we have different mode of implementing this product. Okay, so it could be the SaaS, or it could be the PaaS, or it could be the IaaS. So what is the difference between these three? So SaaS is nothing but the standard product, whatever Oracle has given us. So it's the kind of a vanilla implementation that we are doing. Okay, so that we call it as a SaaS application. And PaaS is a scenario wherein I will have some sort of privilege in terms of getting data from third-party application, which I'll not be able to do it using SaaS model. Okay. So now, for instance, let's take Airtel as an example. Okay. So Airtel sales happens at separate database or the separate application. So wherein this is linked to the mobile application. So let's say user A logs in and he or she recharges. So now the sales transaction enters into different application, and then from there we are importing this sales transaction, or let's say we are creating the item or the order management transaction. So this is getting imported from this third party application, so which we need this PaaS application. Okay, so PaaS is not limited only to the integration. So when we talk about the integration, it is the OAC that we'll talk about it. So that's one of the middleware product. Okay, so now if I want to bring this into the application, so I will need certain technical components that needs to be built in here. So for this, first thing is that I'll need this PaaS application. Okay, so inside that we will have upwards and all those. So that will be more of on technical details. So but at high level, we will need this PaaS application. Okay, so so this is the primary difference between PaaS application and the SaaS application. Okay, so now the IaaS is nothing but it's at the infrastructure level. So if I want to have control over my network and on all those things, I can opt for IaaS as a model. Okay. So these are the high level. We have three different models. I mean, I'm just giving at a high level that this is about the past, but even if you want to build a separate application inside past, so that is also possible. So it's more of an options that you can take. So it depends on the client requirement whether we wanted to go for the POS model or we are good with SaaS model itself. Okay. So now these are the cloud components. Okay. So the advantage of taking cloud over on-premise is that probably if I have a specific requirement, let's say I wanted to have some feature implemented, so which I do not have as a standard. So in case of on-premise, I'll not have that feature. But let's say if I'm in cloud, I'll have release over 3 months. Every 3 months, I'll have releases. Okay. So using that, I can use those features implemented. Okay. So that's one thing that we will get from Oracle in terms of cloud. Okay. So now talking about the security, so there are different layers of security here. So the very basic is that we will have the role-based access. Okay, first thing, and second thing is that we will have this roles customized. Okay, so this is basic security, and in terms of uh, what do you call the compliance requirement. So we have something called SSO, single sign-on. Okay, this again needs the technical help in terms of generating the metadata and all those things. Okay, so this is one layer of security that we have. And then in terms of handling the user logins and restricting the hours or the timeouts that we wanted to handle. So there are few things that we can do inside the application, and there are few things that we can do outside the application, meaning inside OIC. Okay. So there
Mhm.
are certain rules that we can write, and using that, even if we wanted to have, let's say, OTP based login. So that is also possible that we can do it using the OIC. But the standard security inside Fusion application, so we will not have that. So it is just as the controls, user level controls that we can set it up. Let's say for instance, I wanted to have the password string to the be this, or let's say I don't want user to use the password that is being used again. Okay, so that restriction I can do it, but apart from that, so there are even more security that we can bring in using OIC. Okay, so for that we will need the OIC licensing and all those things. Okay,
Okay.
so then in terms of user logins, so if I'm talking about the procurement, so for each I will have separate license paid for this. Okay, so it's based on the role that is assigned. Okay, so now let's say I have taken procurement module only. Then in this case, either I can take or I can do configuration related to only this if I am taking, let's say, manufacturing as an example. So for instance, let's say I am receiving the item from manufacturing but not inside the procurement. So this will be built in that case. So we have something called my receipts. Okay, so each of the components is accessed based on the roles. So this role is basically the key in terms of handling the user logins and allowing to create the transactions in the system. Okay, so
Mhm.
this is the basic layer of security. Okay, so the basic structure. Okay, so now the second thing is that if I want to, let's say, create a transaction or create the purchase order only related to this business unit. So I have option to restrict only to the particular business unit. Let's say I have two different countries that has been implemented. Okay. So now I wanted to give access only to India. So for US, there is separate team there. Okay. So I
Mhm.
don't want to give access there. So probably there is one manager who will have access to look at both the transactions. So I can probably customize the role and then create a view for both the entities. So this I can do it. So these are the components that we talk about in terms of security console, are the controls that we have in Oracle. Okay.
Okay.
And then in terms of enterprise, so probably I'll just open an Excel sheet and I'll just explain what is enterprise structure first.
Mhm.
Because talking about the enterprise structure, we'll have the human resource component, we'll have finance component, we'll have supply chain component as well. Okay, so I'll just reshare my screen. Okay, so I'll just start with the enterprise structure. Okay, so when we say enterprise structure, so what does it consist of? So it will have the entity or the enterprise. Okay, and then this will have the primary ledger or the ledger where the transactions are created. So I'll just explain what is primary ledger and what is enterprise. Okay.
This I'm
And
aware of in the sense,
okay.
terms of Oracle Artwell. But you can explain it if I have any questions on it.
Okay. I mean, if you want to skip any part of it, probably you can let me know so we can skip
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Okay. Yeah, so first thing is that enterprise, and then we'll have the primary ledger, and then the legal entity, and then the business unit. So then the inventory arc, and then the SBU, sub inventory arc. Okay.
Mhm.
So then we'll have the costing, the cost group, and then finally the asset book. Okay. So this is how basically the structure will look like. Okay. So now in terms of enterprise, so always this will be one. Okay. So if I want to have multiple entities created, let's say I wanted to create one for India, one for US, and the other one for China. So I can probably use this option called legislative data group. Okay. So using legislative data group, probably I can create multiple legislative data group and I can associate with the business unit when I'm assigning this particular access to the user. Okay. So this is one thing. And second thing is
This,
that
sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
Arun. So legislative data group, right? For example, enterprise is one, right? So let's say Tata Group, right? Enterprise
right,
will be one, right? And then they will have a business all over the India or all over the world, right? Let's
right,
say if they have a business in China, they have a business in Europe, they have a business in Asia Pac, and Asia Pac has different branches, like
okay,
India and all those things, right? So now, uh, if obviously each because the enterprise is one, right, and it can
right,
be, and if I want to segregate the employees, my financial structures, right, where I want to, one will be headquarter and then other subsidiaries will be there. So
right.
if that is the case, right, do you think we need to go in terms of legislative data group, and how that legislative data group will help me to achieve, or when first it's needed, number one, and what is the significant and why they go for the legislative data group?
I mean, so legislative data group is primarily to create the entities across the country. So meaning, so if I want to have the headquarters and then the other branches under that, so
Mhm.
this we call it as an organization structures which falls under HCM. Okay, so to give at high level, so we will have the headquarters created, we will have the human resource organization created, and then we'll create the structure, all these things. So
Mhm.
this is part of this, but in terms of capturing the transactions, so this we call it as an business unit. So let's say if I have any expense or revenue that is generated there in the headquarters, so of course I'll create this as an business unit, one thing. And then second thing, in terms of using the legislative data group, of course, it is used to assign at the user level. So let's say I'm creating one employee at the HCM. So I will need this legal entity and the primary ledger associated to this particular employee. So now if I want to associate this information, probably I'll need this legislative data group or the HCM information populated attached to this particular legal entity. So meaning I'm trying to create multiple multiple enterprise structure in this case. Meaning, let's say I have two different legal entities. So one for India, another one is for China. Let's say the third case, I have also for US. So now India and China have one legal entity each. But then for US, I have two different legal entities.
Mhm.
And now I wanted to basically associate using this enterprise. So now I will create one legislative data group here for US and similarly here separate legislative data group. But then the enterprise is going to stay as one. So meaning I'm just creating this legislative data group only for the purpose of mapping the enterprise with the legal entity or the registration of the business.
Okay. So basically, if you have a multi-org structure, or kind of a business is expand into multiple places, then
Right.
you we generally follow the entity legislative data group and attach those legislative data, attach the legal entity and the primary ledger to the legislative data group. Is that what is?
Correct.
Okay. And legislative data group is just to segregate it, right? Does it has any other than any functionality? For example, if I have, as you said, in US, if you have two legislative data group, will it segregate any data, or it just a map for the mapping purpose?
It's just for the mapping. It will not have any functionality or it will not segregate the data. So it is just for the mapping between the countries.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the next one is the primary ledger. So primary ledger is nothing but a ledger where the transactions are created. So it could be basically the manual entries that is created there in the GL module, or it could be the subledger transactions originating from modules such as, let's say, I have created the purchase order and I have received the items.
Mhm.
Also, I have booked the delivery also. So now for this receipt and the delivery, I will have accounting information populated, or I'll just account this transaction and send it to GL. So now these are the subledger modules, meaning whatever the transaction that we are creating, so the transaction stays inside this module, but then the accounting information transfers from subledger module to GL. So that's the reason these are called subledger modules, and this is called general ledger or the primary ledger, which means that primarily whatever the accounting information that we are passing, so that will be posted under this particular ledger. Okay. So in
Okay.
terms of primary ledger, so we have something called space database also, so which generates the cube. So when we generate this primary ledger, so it creates the cube, and whatever the receipt transaction that we are posting, so each will be referred against this balance queue, so which we can use it at the finance end for FRS and the other reports. Okay.
Okay.
So this is, yeah.
Is it similar to sub SLA, or how is it? A balance queue you're referring it to?
Balance cube is basically, so if we want to compare it with other modules, so here it's the standard, the traditional table that we have, that is row and column. But here, in terms of a space database, so the data is stored in terms of cubes. So meaning multi-dimension data can be retrieved using this reporting tools like FRS and the smart views and the other tools. But the
Okay.
difference is that we do not have the columns or rows here in the SPH database. So whatever the data that we are referring in GL in terms of SPH database, so all the data are stored as cubes. So now this cube is referred as multi-dimensional cubes, meaning so dimensional meaning so each column or each row that we are referring here in the subledger modules. So this is referred here as dimension. Let's say my period. So I'm in the month of July 2024. So now this period is referred at as dimension, and I will have the segments, meaning what are the fields that I can capture while I'm accounting this particular transaction. So each field or each segment is treated as dimension. So whatever the columns or the rows that we are talking about there, so that is referred as the dimension here in SPH database.
Okay. So what you are saying it is that, let's say, any GL base, for example, as you give an example, a receipt is created, right, in a subledger. Now it's obviously transferred into the GL to its primary ledger. to its GL database table, right? So when the data is transferred into the GL into their base table, is stored in terms of cubes, and that is
Yeah.
called as space data, right?
Yeah.
And it will be multidimensional, right?
Yeah. I mean, SBase is the database. So how we are referring as Oracle database. So there is a separate database called SBase database. So the data we are calling it as balance queue, and the column or the row what we are referring is dimension.
What is the significance of this one? How it differ from, because in a traditional, as you said, we have row and column, right? And then it will be like it will be stored. It will have a memory byte, and then it goes and it stores there. And then if you want to retrieve that data, for example, I write one SQL, right? I will refer that column and then write it. And similarly, it will be when we develop a report or something, we write those procedures or the functions to retrieve those data based on the column and the table that we do it. But how it, if you can little bit explain me on that, how it will, for example, I want to create one report, right? Let's say right now, I think in Fusion we refer.
Yeah. So this database is primarily used for the purpose of end user or the functional consultant who doesn't have the knowledge or who doesn't have working experience of coding. Okay, meaning that, so this is similar to, not exactly, but I can just say similar to OTBA. So wherein I can just drag and drop fields and I can get the data whatever I needed inside a particular subject area. So similarly, so here we have option to basically drag and drop certain fields and generate those reports. Either it could be the balance sheet report, or it could be the profit and loss report, or it could be the cash flow statement, looking at inside the application or looking at the data outside the application, let's say smart view. So these are the options that we get from space database, meaning that this dimension I can drag and drop, and it could have the horizontal and the vertical view, and based on this view I'm getting this particular data in the specified format. So this I can relate it to OTBA, but I cannot relate it to BIP report or the traditional report wherein we write SQL queries and then get the columns and the data from there. So I can relate it to the OTBA.
Okay,
So
okay,
meaning whatever the code or the queries that we wanted to write, so it is written and it is stored. So we are basically using this field just to drag and drop and give the output. So primarily this is used only for the financial reports. So like the other reports will not be able to use it. So let's say I wanted to understand the stock inward and outward, so which I wanted to understand. So probably I can use this report to understand using the debit and credit and then the closing balance. So what is that I have? So apart from this, if I want to drill down, which is not possible here, so for this I'll have to go to the GL, and then from there I'll have to drill down, or probably I must use the standard reports in GL and then run the all inventories report in inventory module and then get those details. So this is only for the purpose of the managers who will have need to basically look at their financial data.
okay, got it.
Yeah. So that is about the primary ledger. So then we have the legal entity. So legal entity, of course, we know it's nothing the registration of the business that we have. So probably for India case, I'll have one registration created. So that's about the legal entity. And then the business unit, it's nothing but the expense or the revenue that you're incurring. So let's say the purchase order. So purchase order is nothing but that I am requesting for a particular item, let it be the raw material for my manufacturing process, or let it be the stationery item for my office purpose. So this is considered as expense. Okay. So now, which entity generates this revenue or expense? So this is termed as a business unit. So ideally, we will have more than one. So there are few cases where we'll have 40 business units also, but this will be tagged to the primary ledger and then the legal entity. Okay, so that is how the transaction is created in the subledger module, and then this information is passed to the general ledger. Because if I want to look at the general ledger data in the general ledger, so I will need this mapping, that is primary ledger must be associated with the business unit. So that is when if I receive this particular item, so I can transfer this information to the ledger. Okay. So that's about the business unit. Okay. And then we have the inventory organization. So inventory organization is nothing but uh, the physical, sorry, I can say it's a physical location that I have. So let's say I involved in soap manufacturing business. Okay, so now I will have assembly department. I'll have my packaging department. Then I'll have my place where I'll store the packaged items, wherein I'll get the orders and immediately I'll dispatch from this location. And also I'll have a place where I'll store the raw materials and then the semi finished, because it's not the manufacturing process will be completed in one day. So I will do a certain process today, and then I'll keep it aside for tomorrow's activity, and then from there I'll start it. Okay, so now these are the places that we are looking at. So now if I want to understand, so this I'm talking in a sense of manufacturing, the process manufacturing end. Okay. So now if I want to track this information, so probably I can use each of these locations as the sub inventories SBU. Okay. So now if I want to have this as an master organization, so I will call this physical location as, let's say, Anna Nagar. Anna Nagar is my physical location. So under this, I can have multiple sub inventories created. So similarly, I will have some other unit in Madhavaram. I have second manufacturing unit there. So I can have multiple sub inventory units again there. So this is the structure that we have. So now, whatever the deliveries that will happen, so that is referring to this particular inventory organization, and whatever the finished good that I am holding under this organization, so that is again referred to this particular inventory organization. Okay. So now I'll have probably certain activities. So it could be the maintenance of stock, or it could be handling the inward and the outward of the stocks, or it could be the purchase for the manufacturing process. So all those things are referred to this particular inventory organization. Okay. So the sub inventory unit is nothing but in terms of manufacturing. So I can have multiple SPUs created. Okay.
Okay.
So then costing is nothing but if I am talking about the material, I'll talk about costing. Okay, because if I, so it's about whether I want to cost this particular purchase or I wanted to have this as an expense item. Okay, so that is about costing. So wherein we'll create the cost group, and we'll create the cost book, and then we'll create the cost elements, and then we'll tag with the cost elements. So then we have few mapping sets that is created, and then based on these configurations, so probably when I get the delivery, so I'll say that this particular item is costed and this entry will flow to uh, GL, the general ledger module. Okay, so this is about the costing. So probably in this case, for this inventory A, that is Anna Nagar, I'll have one cost book, and for Madhavaram, I'll have another cost book. It depends on the structure that how we wanted to maintain. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is one thing, and finally the asset book. So asset book again, we will have. So of course it is not mandatory, but we will have option to maintain the asset book at the inventory because the reason being. So I have machineries. So let's take the same example as the soap manufacturing. Okay. So now I'll have machineries and then I'll have computer, laptops, and the other assets as well. So now these are the items that is tracked as assets. So now in order to identify these details, so I'll need to associate this asset book with the inventory organization. Okay. So this is at high level the enterprise structure that we are trying to understand. Okay. So any question till this point?
No, I don't have it right now. Yeah. Probably I have one question, so not exactly related to the for the process. I was a little bit more curious about the pass for information. What it was, I was thinking that, for example, if the business, for example, I have a direct material, right? Let's say I enter into some other system, let's say Coupa, which is very popular cloud this thing, right? And then indirect material I purchase in Oracle and I do the entry there. So if I enter, but my all the financial systems are there in Oracle. So if I
Okay.
have to bring the transactions right from Coupa to Oracle, most probably to procurement and then to my financial systems, which is obviously will be the GL, right? If that is the flow, if I have to do it, or even whenever the direct material has been purchased in Coupa, I want to do the payment through payables, right? So in those scenarios, right, if if I brought a licensing for the SaaS, right, will not be suffice, and I have the let's say I have it's like integration partners like OIC or any other third party where I bring the data from there. So I cannot bring that data if I have a SaaS application.
No, you will not be able to bring it because there are a few components that Oracle has provided or leveraged. I can say using the UCM. So UCM is one of the this related middleware related component, but this UCM is used only for few finance items like the payment files sent to bank account or the folder where bank has given us or getting the bank statement from there. But apart from that, we will not be able to map it by default because in this case we will need the transmission configurations. So how this data is transmitted from there and from there how are we going to import it. So for this we will have to write this REST API and all those things. So for this we will need this pass license. So using the SaaS we will not be able to import the data from the third party.
Okay, okay. So basically, um, is still it will be on a cloud. It's still it will be on a cloud. But what will be the difference? The application, what cloud SaaS provides it, and what PaaS provides it in this scenario.
Yeah. So, SaaS, we know that it's the standard product wherein I will not be able to talk or communicate with other application. So probably inside Oracle Cloud, if I want to communicate with, let's say, inventory, if I want to communicate, I can do it, I mean, in terms of procurement function. So I can communicate with inventory, I can communicate with payables, so I can do this. But across the application, so this involves development. So when we say development, it is the OAC. So now if I wanted to have access to the OAC, so I will need a pass license in place. So now what I can do using pass or what is that I'm getting added to this SaaS asset. So SaaS is the standard product that we get from Oracle, but inside PaaS, it's a blank page that we'll get. But we have options to develop. Either it could be the integration call, or it could be the code inside the this thing PaaS application, or if I want to develop a mobile application, so that is also possible there. So one of the this thing that we got is that creating the ordering app. Okay, so that
Hmm.
we so these are the items that we can use develop using this POS application.
Okay.
So
So,
these
mhm.
yeah,
Please go ahead.
yeah. So these additional options that we are getting here using the POS application, which will not have it here in the SaaS application. So SaaS is just the standard one what we get. We are just using it. But apart from that, if I want to extend another layer to get the data or process the data, so let's say I'm getting the data in let's say in, payload. Okay, so now I wanted to convert this into CSV. So this I'll not be able to do it using the SaaS application, because inside SaaS, if I want to import any data, let's say using FBDA or some other option, I'm trying to import this data. So I will need someone to prepare this data in Oracle standard format and then bring it to the system. But then in terms of POS, I can probably write a rule to bring the data in the record or the specified format.
Okay.
So it's more often more customization that we can bring in terms of POS.
Okay. So basically, if I want to expose my any REST APIs or any my technical components or bring on any data, probably that kind of layer if I need to bring in, then one of the option is Bash, and that on top of it, it will give me additional privilege to customize within my application also, right?
Correct. Correct.
And one more thing, it comes to my mind that, for example, I written some code, okay, to bring something, and obviously Oracle releases patch or because it will be in a cloud, right? What will
Correct.
happen to those things? Because as and on they apply the patches, right?
Correct.
Probably you will have seen it. That's why I'm asking this question. Let's say I I integrated with, let's say, similar example, I integrated with Coupa, right, or Bluefish or something. That integration happened, right?
Right.
Now I develop a code where I customize certain page within Oracle, right,
Mm.
using Apex or JSON or something. I did that one, right?
Right.
And then now Oracle released the patch. Obviously, quarterly they release it, or maintenance they do it, right?
Mm.
During that time, how, because it's still the premises will be controlled by the, though it is a PaaS, it is still in a cloud, it is still in Oracle database, which is on cloud, right? How
Right.
this things will be taken care in real time.
I mean, this for this we will not have major change in terms of application, because the reason being, so this involves REST API and the other components that we are using here. But Oracle, and as far as I have seen, Oracle has not changed this REST API, these information. So probably we'll have the version change of that we will have, so that we will have to take care. But apart from that, in terms of structure, so I have not personally seen change over here. And then,
So
yeah,
So what you are saying that that will not have impact, right? In the sense when they do a release. Next question comes to in my mind is that, let's say there is a page in Oracle, on a Fusion, right? Let's say your requisition entry page, right? I
right,
added, obviously you will have a descriptive flexible where you can capture all those things, but I customized that page because it's in paths, it gives me a privilege. I customized that one, and Oracle brought some new feature where it adds into that particular page, right? How they, if it is obviously because it's a pass, how Oracle controls that feature?
I mean, when we talk about the pass customization, so it's not that. we can customize the standard page that is given by Oracle. So what we can do for requisition screen is that, so I can probably personalize this page using some other option. Let's say this user must see this option. So hide and unhide, all those things I can do it. And apart from that, in terms of validation, I can do this. So these are the personalizations that I can do. But when we talk about the PaaS application, so it's the separate layer that we are bringing in. So whatever the custom page or the custom screen that we are talking about, so this is inside the PaaS application. So we can build our own page there, and whatever the information that we are entering here, so we can set the validation or we can write the validation, and then we can send this information to Oracle source, and this information carries certain DFF or whatever the information that we can capture, so that we can bring it here. Or if there is no data, so the data part I can bring it here, but I will not be able to change the screen as it is. So let's say I have this item creation screen. So now I have lot of fields, as a lot of information that I can capture in the screen. So now I don't want these information. Let's say I have attachment screen. So, but then I don't want to capture these attachments. So I wanted to customize the screen and remove these options. So which will not be able to do it. So probably this field we can hide it, or we can make it as non-mandatory, and
Okay.
the items created in the third-party application which we wanted to bring in, so that we can do it. But customizing Oracle's screen is not supported.
Okay, so even though that is PaaS, it is not possible. It's just that in a PaaS, it brings the another um, layer where you can incorporate the data
Correct.
and bring it into Oracle
Correct.
system, which will allow you to interact with the other what do you say, other third party system.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Any other question?
No. Arun, if you have something, right, because I'm just trying to understand because I know I'm deviating from the topic because I'm more asking about the initial step. Do you have any document related to technical architecture of or architecture, how the fusion works? What is the technical architecture behind it? Or if you have any article or anything that you can suggest, or you have anything, right? Let me know so that I can also read that one, so that I'll also be thorough with the technical architecture behind the fusion. Do you have anything which clearly gives me a, in a layman I can understand it? Do you have something,
I
or
mean,
you
I
can?
have selected to only the project that's in general. This thing I don't have it. Maybe I'll try to get it from Suresh. Maybe if he has, maybe I'll try to get it because mine is all related. I have, but it's related to project, but so I will not be able to share those details. Maybe I'll check with Suresh and will share you the
Okay,
technical architecture if he has.
okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm good, Arun.
Okay, sure. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, so this would be the login screen. Okay, so I will basically start with the user creation and all those things. So of course this would be very basic, but I'll just explain. Probably if you want to skip any part of it, let me know. We can skip that. Okay. So
No, you
now,
can. Explain
Yeah.
me everything. Even if I'm aware, I want to understand your prospect on that.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. So here, if we look at it, so we have lot of options in terms of viewing the data, or in terms of configuration, or in terms of administration. So it is because we have given a super user role to this particular user. Okay, so now for instance, if I wanted to have access to schedule process, so this comes using the role. So let's say I have accounts payable manager. So this accounts payable manager will have, of course, the employee access and all those things. So for that reason, this user is having this option called schedule process. And if I want to probably create user or maintain the users on the system or customize the role, so I will need this option called security console. So now the security console is again coming from IT security manager role. Okay, so similarly, so whatever the uh, data or whatever the options that we are looking at on the screen, so everything comes using the rules. Okay, so probably the rules, we have a separate page, the Oracle repository, where we can understand what are the roles that is needed for this particular module or for particular this option. Okay, so we can get all those details from Oracle repository. So this Oracle repository is not limited only to the roles. So we can get the REST APIs, we can get the FBDI templates, and if I want to understand certain features, so that also I can get it from there. Okay, so that's a common place where we can use for the entire Fusion as a whole. Okay, so now in terms of security console, what are the options that I'll have? So before that, if I'm having a fresh environment or the fresh instance, so I will just have uh, the username and the password with the URL that is shared with me. So firstly, I'll have to create this implementation project, and I will have to enable features. So what are the modules that I have taken or I have paid for license? So those modules I can enable. Okay, and then I can come to this page and I can create my user. Okay, because the email that we get it from Oracle sales team is that the standard role, or it's kind of an admin user that we'll get. So from there we will have to create separate user for the implementation or the IT manager, all those things based on the roles or the user license that we have taken. Okay, so now before that, if I want to basically set this conditions, how user will be created and how this password will be maintained. So I have this option called category management. Okay, so this is the standard one that we get from Oracle, so that is default. Okay, so now here we will have the username creation room. So of course, as I said, so this is the simpler option that we'll have. So if I want to have more control in terms of username creation or the password policy, so even if the username creation, so I have not seen more of an control in the username, because the username can be created, but I have seen options or the request from the customer for the password policy, so which will be supported by OAC, but here we have the limited controls that we can do. So probably I can explain that as well. Okay, so before that, so this is the username generation rule. Okay, so if I am creating new user, so how do I want to create this user? So probably if I say email here, so whatever the email address that I'm giving there, so that will get defaulted. So again, this is only for the purpose of default, but of course, if I want to change it, I can change it manually. So in this case, we have taken first name dot last name. So whatever the first name and the last name that we have given there, so that will be defaulted as the username. Okay. So if I want to probably change it to email address, so I can do that as well. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Then the password policy. Yeah. So password policy, I can set the expiry date. So I can just say decrease or increase here. Okay. So date of expiry. So on that particular date, user will be asked to basically reset their password. So which they can do it using the forgot password. So it's similar to the Gmail access. So wherein we'll get the reset link to our email, the working email, and from there we can reset the password. So that is one thing. And then before password expiry, so if I want to send the warning, it's kind of just a message that I can send it out. So this is one of the option. Okay. And then this is nothing but the session timeout. So this involves the standard tokenization. Again, in terms of tokenization, so we will not be able to do it inside Oracle Fusion. But if I have OIC, so I will be able to do this tokenization. So the tokenization is nothing but it's kind of an encrypted option in terms of validating the data or validating the data that is inputted in the system. Okay, so that's what we are referring to the tokenization. Okay, so then the password complexity. So complexity will have the simple or complex. Okay, so so these are the things that we can get. And if I want to probably customize this, so I can say minimum characters 8. So these are the standard options that we will get. Okay.
Okay.
And then if I don't want user to use the last used password, I can enable this option. Okay. And then if I want to restrict someone to manually reset the password, I can disable this option. Okay. So these are the standard password policy that we'll get. Okay. So if I want to have OAuth, or if I want to have the OTP based login, so all those things I will need OIC as I said earlier. Okay. And then we have option for the notification as well. Okay, so these are the standard templates that we have. Okay, so probably this is inside the VIP. So if I want to customize the template, that I can do it using the VIP. Okay, but to enable the notification, so these are the options. So let's say I don't want to use notification for this password and these things, so I can disable the notification option. Okay.
Okay. You said something VIP or something, right? What is that?
Yeah, VIP template. So this email notification that we are sending, right? So
Yes.
here if I want a different template to be sent, so I can customize the template there, and that will be my email template, whatever the customized template that I'm attaching to this. So that will become my actual template when I'm sending the password expiry or the user creation email that I'm sending.
Okay. So it is done where, Arun?
BAP. So we have this option, right? Report and analytics. So wherein
Mhm. Mhm.
we take this templates. So there I can take this templates. So if you come down, so we have this report and analytics, right? So here
Yes.
we can take this templates. So here I can take those templates.
For any notifications, right?
Yeah, any notification. I mean, this is a common place where we'll create all the BAP templates are the components. So let it be our purchase order template that we have it there, or it is this notification template, or the custom notification that we are building. So everything we are storing it here under this screen called catalog.
Okay.
So probably the path might be different, but this is where we are storing it.
Okay. And is it a functional activity or is it a technical activity?
Not technical. Functionally, we'll not be able to do it because this involves few SQL queries that needs to be written, and
Okay.
we'll have to develop as a different template, and then on top of that, we'll have to apply this data model and all those things. So this is kind of a technical activity.
Okay.
So I'm not sure the exact location, but somewhere we should be able to find it here.
Okay. Got it. I just wanted to know it where it is and how it is. Okay. Got it. Should be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the users. I mean, this since this is test environment, we are seeing these many users. So
Okay.
this is basically screen where this control is not set. So those are the users that we're looking at. But in real time, of course, we'll have this category associated. So if at all there is any user that is created using without this user category, so those will be displayed here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have the single sign-on. So single sign-on again, this involves technical work, or I would say the integration specialist work, wherein they will create this single sign-on. So, which means that if I have two different this thing Oracle application, let it be POS application and SaaS. So just for example, I'm saying. So so now for these two logins, I'll have one this thing. So if I'm resetting this password, so it's going to work for both the things. So for this, I'll first generate the metadata metadata, and then I will have certain work at the OAC as well in terms of generating the certificate and incorporating the encryption and all those things. So for India, so this is one of the compliance requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So we will need this single sign-on. Okay, so this is one standard option that I have personally heard from business or the customer. Okay,
Okay.
so this is where we will look at those data. Okay, and and then in terms of logging in, so I can probably use this API authentication also. So this is additional layer in terms of logging in, which will validate the login of the particular user. Okay. So this is nothing but sending the information again to the OAC, nothing more than that. So it's the standard option that we have, so which will record the logs there in the OAC. Okay.
Okay.
And then administration, it's nothing but whatever the roles are, this thing, the custom component, the custom roles that I'm creating. So I will have basically the option to look at the status of those custom roles. So if there is any issue with that role, so probably I can take that up here. Okay. And then here we have the role preferences. So this is just the copying role option. So whatever the suffix or prefix that I wanted to give, so probably I can give it here. So this is just for the copy role option. Of course, copy role we can just change it there, but this is only for the defaulting option.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, these are the basic expiry, the certificate expiry and all those things. Okay, so this is again related to the sign on, the single sign on, this thing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in terms of creating the user, so this is simple step. So I'll just say add user account. So this option I will do if I do not have HCM module implemented. But if I have HCM module implemented, so probably this user will be created from there. So both the employee record and the user record will be created from there. So the user will be created automatically. Okay. And then they have the auto provision role rules which they will write it there. Okay. So those details we can get it. Okay. So optionally, if I want to get this users created using REST API, let's say for this administration purpose, we have separate application. Okay. So now if I want to get the data using the REST API, so that is also possible. So we have standard REST APIs, so wherein we can use and get those users created there. Okay. And then the roles can be assigned accordingly. Okay, so but if I'm creating this user manually, so I can give the last name, email address, username, password. Okay, and then I can add the roles. So probably if I am adding it for uh, procurement, so I'll call this as a procurement manager. Procurement manager. Okay, so I can get this role. So this role probably we can get it from Oracle repository also. Okay, so let's say I am trying to get this. So now if I want to look at the list of roles, or if I want to understand the options that I will get by assigning this particular role,
Mm-hmm.
so probably I can just come down and I can see all those options. So whatever I'll get, okay. So I can inquire the item, or I can look at the change order transaction analysis. So that is nothing but the OTP or the analysis page, okay. And then still if I come down, I'll have option to inquire the purchase agreement, purchase order, all those options. So these are the options that I'll get using this particular role. So similarly, if I want to look at different roles that I'll get it here. So I'll have these options. So similarly, if I scroll up, so I'll have these roles assigned.
Okay.
Yeah, so based on that, we can assign the roles. So probably if I have ORA, so this is standard role given by Oracle. So if I'm looking at something else like PO or whatever the naming convention apart from ORA, so which means those are uh, the custom roles. Okay.
Okay.
So this
Uh,
is simple user role creation screen. Okay, so this we are getting it using IT Security Manager. Okay. So similarly, if I want to do any configuration or if I want to look at setup and maintenance page, I will need application implementation consultant. Okay, so now for this particular user, so we have given access to both the application implementation consultant and IT security manager. So that's the reason we are able to see both the options. Okay. So
One
now
more
we
thing.
have, yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. So, for example, you said that if the HRMS has not been implemented, right, will obviously not create the data in the HRMS. But if I am designated as a procurement agent or the buyer, right, or I want to do perform any activity, right,
okay.
um, I need to be defined as an employee, right? So how will we do that one? Because this is just the creation of the login, but it is not telling me that I am the employee, right? How will we do that if the HRMS is not implemented?
Yeah, so if I do not have HRMS module implemented, so probably I'll have the employee shared service. So the shared service will have option to create the users, meaning create a particular user as employee. Okay,
Mhm.
so I can go to this page where I can search for user, and here I can create a employee record. So this will not have linkage with HCM because we are not tagging the job position and all those things. So simply we are saying that this particular person is an employee, and this person will have this particular login. Either I can link it if I have created already using the security console, or I can give the username here. So the username will be sent to this particular email address. Okay. So now this employee is defined using this option. So I'll say person type as employee, and here I can give the legal name. So
Okay,
let's
got it.
say,
So basically, in this page, if
yeah,
you create it, it will create as an employee as well as it will trigger. It will also create a user ID.
yeah, correct. So if we have already created, so probably we can just link it here. So it's just the one page where we can search by username. Okay. Okay, since it's already linked, it's not showing.
Okay.
So I mean, we do not have active users not assigned to any employee record. So if
Okay.
we have, so probably we'll have the list there. So if we say select and say OK, so that user login will get linked to this account. Okay, and then we can give the business unit and these options. So then once the manager is created, so probably to the subordinate, we can assign the manager as well because this will help us in terms of configuring the approval rules. So this approval rules will be created in the separate screen for view approval or the requisition approval. So now if manager exists, so then I can use this option. So for that purpose, we'll basically use this option to associate the immediate manager.
Okay. So it looks like this is not a mandatory field, right? So when I create a rule, right,
Yeah,
I can, if I don't associate a manager here, even I can define a rule, right?
yeah,
Or default a rule based on the where it has to go, right?
yeah. We can define the rule. So we can define the supervisory rule. But then if manager doesn't exist, so probably that rule will fail, saying system couldn't find active manager related to this login. So probably we'll have to assign the manager then and then resubmit for the approval.
So basically, this will be for a supervisor hierarchy, right?
Correct.
So for a supervisor hierarchy on the employee, you have to attach who is the manager. Right. Okay.
Okay, so that's about creating the employee record and creating the user login for any new journey.
What is the significance of that hire date?
So hire date, if I am implementing with uh, HCM implementer, so this will have significance in a way that this controls the approval, the PO approval also controlled by this. Meaning, let's say my subordinate date is more than the manager's date. So system will restrict us in terms of using this supervisory hierarchy because in terms of shared services, so both the dates must be same or subordinate cannot have the effective date before manager's date. So now, if HCM module is implemented, of course, we will have this option of tracking the joining date or tracking the effective date. But in the shared service case, we will have to give both the manager and the subordinate as same date because it's the date that we are saying that we went live on a particular date using the fusion application. But then if this field will be effective only when I have the HCM module implemented. Else I'll be using the same date for all the employees.
Okay. So basically, if the employee dates are not same, will it has an impact on the approval process?
Yes, it will have impact. So it will say that both. I mean, the certain thing. So if the let's say this subordinate is working for 10 years, but
Okay.
then this manager has joined only last year, let's say 2023. So
Okay.
now, if I try to initiate this approval or if I try to complete this configuration, so system will tell me that this uh, date cannot be more than the manager's date. So I will have to change this date, the subordinate date to the manager's date. So this will have effect in our approval, but this restriction will happen at the user creation level itself. So it will not take us to what you call the approval stage.
Okay. So what I'm trying to understand here is that, for example, within this example also, right, which is very practically possible that my manager got changed and a new manager has come in, right, and he joined, let's say, 1 month back, right?
Right.
So if it is a shared service, do we need to again put either put when I create a manager as an employee, I have to match either with when the employee has joined in, or change the date of the employee when the manager has joined, right? So every date should be same, right? Is it what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. It should be
And
same. Yes.
okay, and if it is not a shared service, then if date can be different and it doesn't have
Yeah.
any impact on the approval, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, got it. And do you know why it is so? Because it looks very weird that
Yeah.
the date has to be same. Is it
Yeah.
kind of a bug or something, or is it something purposely designed this way?
I mean, we had the same thought actually, and we raised a service request with Oracle.
Hmm.
So Oracle says it's the intended functionality because when we have, so in terms of architecture, so when we have the shared services, so we'll have this effective date and all those components. but here it's just the hire date that we are looking at. So in terms of syncing the data, so without HCM implemented, we will not be able to bring the actual dates. So in case
Okay.
of shared services, so we will have to have a standard date where or on what particular date this employee or this user will be created. So we'll have to follow that particular date as a standard, else we'll have problem in terms of creating the user is what response we got it from Oracle. So
Okay.
in case of shared service, we'll have to take this option because technically they are explaining that they will have challenges in terms of linking the datas.
Okay. 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 Got it.
Not sure if they will address this in the future release, but as of now they do not have option to basically have
Okay.
different dates between the subordinates and the managers.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, so but it's looks a little bit weird. For example, let's say if I have a
Yeah,
PaaS system where my HRMS is or payroll has been maintained in some third party system, and I just bring the data here, right, for my
correct.
for my expenses or my for anything, right? Along with that,
Correct.
my hire date or user creation date will come. So it means that every time when the data gets imported, I have to
Yeah,
do something to or make sure that whenever the data comes in, I have to write a rule saying it is that this employee has to be hired. It always should be there, which is little bit,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just move on. And yeah, so this is a common page where we can give access to all the modules. Okay. So let's say I wanted to give access to inventory so that I'll be able to use it here, or if I want to give access to the cost management, I'll be able to do it using here, or the procurement, the business unit, I can do it using this page. Okay. So this is a common screen where we can give access. So the first activity would be we will create the user and assign the roles. So now the role is assigned. So user will be able to see the screen saying that purchase order, the requisition. But then if user wants to create the transaction, we will have to complete this setup, which will give access to specific business unit. If it is purchase order, specific business unit, or if it is inventory, it's the specific inventory organization. Okay, so this is where we are giving that particular access. So the username is populated from the security console, both the username and the role. Okay. And based on the role that we have selected, for instance, I'll just select one particular user. Okay, I think this is finance user. Okay, so for now I'll just use this same login. So in this case, since it is accounts payable payment, so I'm just taking this example because I do not have uh, the inventory related organization created. Okay. So here I'll have option to assign either the business unit or the budget org or the cost org or the inventory organization, because this is not limited to business units. So that's the reason we are looking at these many options. But if I am giving, let's say I'm giving a role of warehouse manager, so this warehouse manager will have access to the inventory organization, okay, or the plant that I wanted to have access, so that I'll be able to do it. But other than that, if I want to access the data access set or the control budget, so which I'll not have. So meaning, so this security context is shown based on the role that we have selected. Okay.
Okay.
Then accordingly, we will have the security context values populated. Okay. So if it is the business unit for the procurement manager role, so I'll have the list of business units. So probably whatever the business unit that we have created, so we can just have added to this user, so that this business unit can be used to create the either the requisition or the purchase order. Okay.
Okay.
So this is for one user that we are looking at, but let's say I wanted to do it for multiple users. So in real time, we will have a lot of users and lot of roles that is assigned. Okay, so at least let's say 50. So 50 is the bare minimum in terms of count of license. Okay, so now if I want to do it for 50 users, it's not just one role that I will associate or I will assign. So it would be the multiple roles that I'll be assigning. So I will have at least 100 to 200 lines to be done. So which I will not be able to do it using this option. So in that case, I will have to go to this option called authorize data access. So I'll have something like an Excel sheet. So I will have to open this Excel sheet. This Excel sheet is similar to the ADFDA, so which will get integrated with application, meaning whatever the master data that we have, so that must be linked with the application, and I can select those masters from the application or from the Excel sheet itself. Okay, so now if I download this Excel sheet, or if I try to open this Excel sheet, so this will ask for the username and password. So once I have given the username and password, so this template will open. Okay, so wherein I can fill the data. So I'll just so yeah, so for this we will need this desktop integrated. So we have this option here, so I'll just show here. So it's the simple tool that we can download just by clicking next and then install. Okay, so here you will have option called download ADF desktop integrated. So if we install this particular tool, so we will have option to open this particular file. So I'll just reshare my screen and show how we
Okay.
will fill this data basically.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the simple screen. Okay, so here I can say security context. It's nothing but the inventory organization or the business unit. Okay, and then the security context value. It's nothing but the business unit name or the inventory organization name, and then of course the username and the role. Okay, so once this is done, of course, we can add multiple lines just by it's just the standard Excel function. I can just insert and I can add multiple values to this. So once the details are filled in, so I can say upload. So this roles, I mean, this access will be done or given to this particular user. Okay.
Okay.
So that's about the user creation and providing access to the users and all those options. Okay. So if we don't have any other questions, so probably we can move on to the configuration part.
Sure.
Okay, so first thing is that creating the business unit when we talk about the procurement module. Okay, so second thing is creating the inventory organization. Okay, and then we'll start with the procurement configurations. Okay, so now to create the business unit, so here I have option called organization structure. So this is common page where we can see it
Harish,
using.
I can still see your this screen, authorized data access user.
Okay, 1 minute, I'll just reshare my screen. Can you see now?
Yeah, I can see now.
No. Yeah. So this option is common. So we'll get this in finance login. We'll get it in the procurement login as well. Okay. So now to create a business unit, so I'll have to click this option, manage business unit. Okay. So I can simply say add and create a new business unit. Okay, so optionally we can give the manager, and I'm just giving the location as Vancouver, and then we have this default set. So this is nothing but the reference data set. So why do we use reference data set is that? So this controls the setups or the master data what we wanted to look. Okay, so now let's take one example as payment terms that we will associate with supplier. Okay, so
Mhm.
now, or let's take another example, the customer. So I'll take example as an order management. Okay, so now if I want to look at my customer data, so I have two options. So I can define my own reference data set, or I can use enterprise. So we will see something called common. So common, we will not be able to use it at the customer level. But then if I wanted to basically use this as uh, unique to this particular organization, let's say for India, I wanted to use one reference set, and for US, I wanted to use different reference set. So now
Mhm.
I will not be able to use uh, use common in this case to maintain the employees. So either I'll say India or US reference set. So now India customers will not be visible to the US entity, and US customers will not be visible here. So when I will when I will use enterprise is that if I have, let's say, customers use both in India and US. So let's say there are few orders that will be fulfilled by US, and there are certain orders that is fulfilled by India. So in this
Mhm.
case, I will not restrict using specific reference data set, but I will say this is enterprise, which means at global. So both the entities will have access to that particular employee. Okay, so that is one such example. So similarly, we have, so this is in terms of master. So similarly for the payment terms, as I said, so if we are talking about the procurement or the payable side of payment terms, so
Mhm.
this also I can restrict it, meaning I have standard terms such as immediate or 2% discount if it is paid within 10 days. So now these items are handled again at the reference data set. If I have enabled or if I have used the common set, so by default I'll have access to these payment terms. But then if I'm creating a custom one, I will have to manually go and assign to this particular payment terms. I mean, if it could be only the immediate or it could be more than one or two, so which we'll have to do it manually. So which means this option basically controls how we wanted to have our configurations and the master data. Okay. Accordingly, we can do it at the reference data set assignment. So probably I'll show that screen also. Okay. So for now, I'm taking this option as common. Okay. But then if we want to create a new, so we have here option to create. Okay. So if I just click this list of value, so here I have option to create also. It's the simple form. Okay. So I can just give the name, set code and set name, and I can just say okay. So this will basically get assigned to this particular business unit.
So while you are doing an implementation, right?
Hmm.
So what is the basic preference when this default set? What, how you segregate that? Do I need to have a default set, or do I need to? How the decisions has been made?
Yeah, so this is basically determined based on the preference in terms of handling the data. It could be the master data, it could be the configurable data. Let's say I am using the standard, I'll just use the same option, the customer data. Okay. So I don't want to segregate my data. I wanted to have this because since I have the business unit access as well at the customer level. So I wanted to restrict at that level, but I don't want anyone to restrict saying that only these particular customers will be listed to this particular user or the business unit. If this is the requirement, then we will go for enterprise or the common option. But if the requirement is to restrict to particular entity, let's say I have one for uh, one for Delhi and another entity for Chennai. So now I wanted to restrict only for Chennai customers. So I can choose for the custom option.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
in this case, it involves both the master and the setup or the configurations that we are doing. It's not the all configurations, it's certain configurations that we can use. For instance, the remit to address or the customer site or the payment terms. So similarly, and then the sales credit, all those options we have. So these can be controlled at the reference data set level. So again, this depends on the customer's requirement, how they want to look at the set of data and the master data.
Mhm. See, for example, if the requirement is that, okay, obviously, if there are two operating units or two business units, right, where
Yeah.
I want to segregate the data, meaning that the France should not have the visibility of what India employee has it or the payroll they have it. So obviously, as you said, right, I can have a custom data set within the employee level to segregate that data, right?
Right.
So right now, if I want to have a segregation between the transactions created in France and here, right? And
Right.
if I use, let's say, this business unit which you are defining it, it is a custom um, business unit. I don't want to use a default set as common, right?
Okay.
What will happen if there is a internal requisition created, uh,
Okay.
and there is a transaction flowing between this France and India, and obviously the address, the payment term, and all those things, right? Mm, I, I, I I cannot segregate it because as an internal, right? So from one business unit, maybe intercompany, it's happening. Intercompany transaction is happening. What will happen then?
That's what. So if I mean it's still the same thing, right? So if I wanted to restrict, let's say, only the France will have access to its data, or so data meaning the setup data that I'm referring to.
Correct,
Okay,
correct,
so
correct.
if I wanted to have restrictive access, so in that case I'll have to go for the custom one. So now this there are certain payment terms or any other configurations. So that would be the common. So I will have to go and manually add this reference data set. So it will be visible for both the options. And now let's say this again, I can use certain configurations as common and certain configurations as enterprise and certain as restricted to a particular entity or the particular region, so that I can do it. But that is primarily specific to the data access and assignment that we are providing. So in this case, I don't want give access to, let's say, this customer site only, but apart from that I don't have any other requirements. So in this case I will have the specific reference data set created only for the purpose of customer assignment. But here in terms of creating the business unit, I'll say this is common, and whatever the configurations that I'm doing here, so this is controlled at the assignment set. So at the assignment set I'll say this is specific to this particular process or this particular setup only, and the others I'll say either the common or the enterprise.
Okay, there is something called assignment set also, right?
Yeah.
After this,
So
okay, I can choose it, drill down for which I need to. Probably I have to see that one. I'm not aware of that. Probably once we come. So basically, if they're obviously in a global transaction format, right?
right.
Um, because we are in a this business unit definition. So what I'm trying to understand it is that what will happen if, let's say, we took up India and France, right? If France, I define a default set as custom, say, I given some custom name, right? And India has custom, right? Now I have an intercompany transaction happening between these two operating unit or to this business unit. Will it able to complete the transaction? Because I have two different data sets.
Correct. So in case of intercompany, of course, I will need two access. So in this case, I will have to access to both the entities, which means I'll have a common reference data set, not unique to the particular entity.
Okay, so basically, in general term, right, the recommendation will be attach default set on while you define the
Correct.
business business unit, right? Or
Correct.
during your implementation, did you by any did anywhere where you see it is that the default set when you're defining a business unit is different than the standard or the common one?
That's what mostly I have scenario seen that only the common option that we have used here. So
Okay.
where we have used is that only the customer or the customer site level or the sales level that we have seen. But
Yes.
apart from that, at the business unit, we have not seen unique to that particular business unit. It's the common option that we have used.
Okay. So segregation has to be drilled down to, um, okay, got it. Basically, where, and that's, as you said, customer site level or certain payment term where you don't want to show it to other business unit or some other data thing, or for example, on the employee level. France employee, you don't want to see it here. That's where probably those segregation has to if has to happen, um, then then those common set cannot be used, like for example in enterprise and all those things, right?
Correct. Correct. Yeah, probably I'll explain this as well, the
Okay,
assignment part also. So
okay, okay, okay. Thanks, Arun.
okay, and the second option that you'll have to give is that what are the business functions that this business unit will do. So now let's say I have not given option of managing the materials. So I will have to come back to the screen and enable that option. So because unless I enable those options, I will not be able to do the material transactions in the system. Or if I
Okay,
want to do configuration also. So that is basically controlled at this business unit level. Okay, so for instance, I'll just say customer payments. I'm just enabling, but
okay. So basically, these are the what is called duties, right?
yeah,
Or
correct,
what is it called? Okay,
correct. So this business unit can perform these duties.
okay.
Okay, so these are the options that I have selected. So I have not selected help desk and sales, and then the project accounting, and then the billing and revenue. Okay, so these are the options that I have selected. So now I will have to select the primer ledger. So I think we did not create the primer ledger, so I'm just using the standard one. The US ledger is what I'm taking here. Okay, so I'm just enabling this option, which means that defaulting this legal entity to this particular primer ledger. Okay. So if
What
I
is
have
that
only
below legal entity? What does that mean?
which point?
You checked one checkbox, right? Below legal
Yeah,
entity.
correct.
What is?
Yeah, that's what. So to default, this is the legal entity associated with this particular ledger. So I'm enabling this option. So
Okay.
if
So
I have
basically,
only, yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Let's say, for example, the U.S. primary ledger have, let's say, 20 legal entity, right?
okay.
And and in the legal entity box, let's say I choose one legal entity, and if I don't click that button, what will happen?
So if I don't click this option, so this will not get defaulted, meaning I have, as you said, we have 20 different legal entities. So this field will be blank. So I will have to select manually every time when I'm creating the transaction in the system.
Transaction. Okay, okay, okay. If you have a multiple legal entity and you want to default one particular legal entity, then
Correct.
it will automatically default. But having said that, within when you create a transaction, it will still give you. Does it give you an option to change it?
Yeah, it will give option to change it as well.
Change it, but it will default one.
Yeah.
Automatically, it will default this one. Okay. And one more thing, Arun, this reminds me is that we created a user. Now I have assigned the role, right? Let's say
Yeah.
I assign the procurement administrator role, right? So when I add that role, obviously certain duties I can perform, right? So
Right.
let's say, and obviously I will when I create a user, I don't assign user any business unit, right?
Right.
Only the place where I assign the business unit is when I create an employee. right? Because this is a procurement, obviously that business unit has to be attached to that, right?
Right.
And within this, and let's say this business unit doesn't have a procurement, let's say procurement is unchecked here, right?
Okay.
And then if that user, even it has a role, it will not able to perform the procurement
Correct.
activity. Is it my understanding correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. 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 See, but in e-business, I'm trying to relate it. In an
Right.
e-business, right? We have a ammo operating unit where you
Correct.
choose which operating unit for that particular user it's been assigned, right? In the
Right.
fusion, where is that control is?
So the difference between EBS and Fusion is that this is basically controlled at the managed data for the users. So now,
Oh,
if
okay,
I
okay, I
want,
got it. Okay, got
yeah,
it, got it. I got it now. Okay. So you saw it that for first this thing, right? Manage
yeah,
this data where you choose the, as you said, you choose the user role, and based on the role, let's say if it is a procurement, your inventory, and then the operate business unit comes in, and then you choose for which business unit you want to give it, right? That's the
right,
control is given, right?
right,
And then after that, this is the place where it will look at whether you have, what are the functionalities you can do an activity for this business unit. Okay,
yeah.
got it. Yeah, this answers. Thanks.
Okay. So I'll just say save and close. Okay. So the third option would be the business unit data access for users. Okay. So this is that option which we saw just before creating the business unit. Okay, so I'm just skipping this part. And then we have the manage business unit set assignment. So this is where basically we are assigning the reference data set. Okay. So now this can be used for different purposes, as I said. So for example, if you see one such example that we saw is a customer account. So now, since we have given at the business unit level common, so for all the setup classes, we will have option as common. So now I will have to manually change this to enterprise if it is common, or if it is specific to this particular business unit, I will have to change that reference data set, whatever I have created in the before step or the early step. Okay. So this is in terms of master data. So similarly, we will have the setup data as well. So now if I come down, I don't know what is this. It's not dropping down. I mean, there are few other options as well, but somehow this is not coming down. It's still we have this payable payment terms, and then the receivable terms, and then the transaction type level. All those access are there. So I mean, it's, I mean, in terms of option, it's the same thing. So it's whether we are selecting the enterprise, common, or whatever the option that we are selecting. So this should in sync with the transaction type or the configuration that we are doing in the system.
Okay.
But
So
somehow
what is
my
the difference between common and enterprise?
so this is in terms of architecture that Oracle has built. So for certain configurations, they have come up with common option, and there are certain options like the receivable, especially. So they have come
Mm-hmm.
up with enterprise. So except receivables, all other options we can use common. So common and enterprise, in terms of feature, it's same option. So there is no change. It's just the term change that Oracle has given.
Okay. So basically, what you're saying it is that for procurement, most of the time, or for SCM as such,
Yeah,
it will be more common, right?
yeah, correct. Yeah, so that's about this option. Any question, or we can move on?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
And Arun, because I'm very new to this, right? Do you
Yeah.
have any document where you say that, okay, because see, for you it will be easy, right? You know, I want to basically a sequence, right? Where, okay, I want to implement, let's say procurement, right? Okay,
Okay.
these are the number one, number two, number three. The way you have shown it right now, do you have anywhere documented this way, or do you have
Uh,
anything where I can refer it?
Document with me, I do not have. I think Suresh must be having similar to activity guide or something. Let me check with him, and I'll ask him to share with you. I think it should be there, but let me check.
Okay. Or how you will follow the process in your when you do the implementation, right? So obviously over the period of time you will remember, right? But
Yeah.
how you prepare the checklist.
I mean, checklist in the sense for the configuration or uh,
Yes, yes, configurations, or obviously you got the requirement right now, right? So now
right,
you understand that, okay, these are the things I have to do it, right? So okay,
right,
before I do number 10, I have to have number, all the sequence need to be completed, right? So
right.
obviously it comes with the practice. I understand that, but do you have any checklist? Okay, hey, without completing number one, two, three, four, five, you will not able to do it number six. Right? So do you have something that checklist? It will be easy for me to refer it, so that I'll be accustomed with what are the things that need to be done before I set up, let's say number six. If I have to do number six, so these are the prerequisites you need to do it, right? These are the checkpoints you need to go and check it whether this has been done or not, right? Because I'll not be aware of, right?
Yeah,
Something.
understood. So there should be an activity guide. So let me check,
Okay.
and I'll ask Suresh to share it in the group. So maybe you can check if that helps.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just start with the inventory configurations. Okay. So first thing is that yeah. So for procurement, we have created the business unit, and second thing, to create the purchase order, so we will need two masters. So one is the supplier, so which we will see at last, so after we complete our procurement configurations. And
Mhm.
second thing is inventory organization and the item master creation and all those things. So now to create the item master, we will need the inventory organizations created. So I'll just show here we create this inventory organization and the sub inventory arcs, and then we'll try to create one item, and then we'll start with the procurement configurations.
Okay. Having said that, you will, when we go into the inventory class, right, you will detailedly discuss about all this, right?
Yeah, yeah, we'll discuss about that as well. Okay. So to create the inventory organization, so the option is manage inventory organization. Okay. So now there are certain parameters that we will give it to this particular organization. So which defines how this inventory organization will basically operate. Okay. So before that, we will have to create organization. Okay, so which must be associated with the respective business unit or the legal entity or the asset book. Okay, so I will just say the name as VIP inventory. And then the business unit that we created is again the same thing. So I'll just use this here. Okay, so we have the primary ledger that is created, and then the legal entity. So then the asset book. So asset book I'll select for now as corporate.
Okay.
Okay, so this address is nothing but what we have selected at the business unit level. Okay, so now the basic information is filled in. So I'll just say next.
Yeah.
So
Before we go into the next, right, there is something
yeah,
called Profit Center Business Unit. What is that one?
1 minute. I'll just come back.
Or you can fill it and come back as well.
Profit center, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so profit center is nothing but our cost center, our uh, the center of what do you call you in terms of finance. Will say whether this entity is registered as a unit for the transaction. So in this case, by default, system assigns this as profit center because this is defaulted from the business unit. So meaning it's the transactional entity is what we are referring to the profit center. So in accounting or the finance term, it's nothing but the cost center option that we will say.
Okay. So when you will have a profit center other than same, how system determines that because you chosen legal entity, right? Automatically it has chosen the profit center because can I have a two, let's say I have 20 business units
Okay.
and can I have one profit center?
Sorry, come again. Two legal entity and
Yeah, so what I was saying it is that let's say if there is a business scenario where it is it's a
okay,
centralized procurement I do it, right? Meaning
okay,
that let's say in India I have
okay,
Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, or Karnataka, right? These are all defined as a
okay,
um, business units, right?
okay,
And obviously, if you have a business unit, right, you will attach the legal entity and the associated associated primary ledger, and obviously all this hierarchy will follow, right?
Okay.
Now, let's say Chennai is where my manufacturing hub is there, and then
Okay.
and all the procurement, right, department sits there, and that's a centralized one, right? Meaning that I can procure it everything, and then from there, mm, the approval, everything happens from there. So meaning
Okay.
that anything that goes around, right? I
Okay.
want to see it, the profit center. I want to classify it as Chennai, right? First thing is that how will I achieve that in the system? And second thing is that if I give Chennai as a profit center, right, not other as a profit center, what is the impact?
So if we are having this as, let's say, profit centered as Chennai, or your manufacturing place, or the headquarters, or the centralized location, so where we will do the procurement, and from there the items are transferred to the different units, the Hyderabad or Bangalore. So
Mm-hmm.
now in this case, I will have to first create Chennai as the profit center, and
Okay.
then I will have to assign that particular profit center to the other units, because this profit center is nothing but, as I said, it's the transactional entity which captures the profit or the loss uh, of this particular unit, I can say. So
Okay.
now, if I want to have a centralized unit to capture the profit and loss, so
Mm-hmm.
I can say, so let's say in this example, we have taken US primary ledger. Okay, so US one is the legal entity. So now, so this, since this is related to the this is part of this particular legal entity. So now I don't want this profit and loss booked under this particular unit, BPI business unit, but then I wanted to capture it as an centralized option. So in this case, the business unit would be the BPI business unit, but then I'll capture, or I'll have this as US one business unit. But then I will have to do this shared services configurations first thing. And second thing is that I'll have to set this as profit center business unit as the US one business unit.
Okay.
So in this case, whatever the profit and loss, the cost that is incurred, so that will not go to the BPI business unit, but that will go to the US one business unit.
Okay. But still, I'll able to create the transaction in all the business
Yeah,
lines, right?
correct. So that is based on the shared service configuration that we are doing. So that is possible.
So, do you mind, whenever you have time or after this, will you able to show me that where you do that? Is it possible?
Shared services, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we have in our list. We'll be looking at that.
Okay.
Because
Thanks.
when we create the suppliers, so we will
Mhm.
have two options. So one is the standard option that we will see, and second supplier that we will create is that using the shared services, because there would be scenario wherein this there are two scenarios. So one is that I will have a centralized procurement team, so wherein the delivery location could be different, but the business unit could be the one business unit, wherein I'll book this purchase order from the headquarters, and
Mhm.
all the approvals that will happen inside this office headquarters. And another scenario is that procurement or the requisition can be created from anywhere, but then this purchase order will be consolidated and sent as one line item to this particular supplier. And third scenario would be invoice would be created only from the head office, but then the requisition or the purchase order can be different. So this
Okay.
will cover it as part of this one, shared services configuration.
Okay. And shared service configuration determination factor is lies on the supplier creation,
No,
or it's
it's
something.
not supplier
Okay.
creation. So supplier creation is just the master data that we are creating. So basically, whatever the shared services setup that we have done, so
Hmm.
based on that, we are assigning this business units to this particular supplier. So now, if this supplier has all the business unit access, which means that this entity that is head office will have all the units access. So now when it comes to a specific business unit, let's say I have Ananagar, so this is the manufacturing unit. I don't want to give access to the procurement. I wanted to give access to the uh, requisition. So now here this will have access to only that particular unit, that is Anna Nagar. But then when it comes to headquarters, headquarters will have access to both uh, what do you call the Anna Nagar as well as the Madhavaram. Okay, now let's say Madhavaram is the headquarters.
Okay.
So now the requisition option will be given, but the purchase order option will not be given for Anna Nagar. So Ananagar will raise the requisition, but the purchase order will be still raised by Madhavaram, because Madhavaram acts as the headquarters who will create all the purchase orders for or fulfill the requisitions created by the Ananagar. So
Okay.
this is controlled at the setup level, but not at the supplier master level.
Okay. So that's a part of your shared service configuration,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
That is interesting. Yeah, got it.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just say next. Okay, so these are the certain controls that we will have in terms of uh, material transactions. Okay, so
Mhm.
first thing is that we are defining this as master organization. So master organization is different from the actual organization, so which we created here. So this is nothing but the actual organization, meaning this will have physical address or the physical location. So I can say this is the address where this inventory is located, but then the item master can be managed at the structure level, meaning this will not have actual physical location. I can have one-to-one mapping, or I can have head office or the main manufacturing hub. So let's say I have Indochina hub in Chennai. So I can have this as Indochina hub for all the inventory organizations that is created. Okay, so this will act as my master organization. So where this will help me is that in terms of uh, creating the sales order or getting the sales order from uh, order management to AR. So if I want to basically link this item, so I can link it using the item master organization. So where I can use this option. So instead of tagging against each inventory organization, and also this is controlled by the structure that we create. So if I'm giving one-to-one mapping, which means that BPI inventory will be created as master for this, and second inventory, let's say I'm creating for Madhavaram, so that will have second master organization. So it's not limited to one, or it's not limited to multiple also. So I can have one for all, or one-to-one mapping also I can do it. Okay. So in this case, I'm selecting the BPI inventory, that is inventory organization, as item master.
Okay.
Okay. And then the schedule probably will see in inventory. So it's nothing but we are saying these are the working days, and these are the holidays, and this is the work schedule. It could be the schedule 1 and schedule 2, meaning first shift would be 9 to, let's say, 3 o'clock, and second shift would be 3 o'clock to, let's say, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever the schedule that we wanted to have, so that we can do it. And also we can see Saturday and Sunday holidays, and I can say that this is the hours that this employee will work. So based on that, we are going to create the transaction. So that schedule is what we are referring to a last Monday start here. Okay. And then if I come down, we have something called locator control. So locator control is used to track the item efficiently. Okay. So in terms of locating the item, so I have option to basically have control on which rack this item is placed or on which location this item is placed. All those things I can do it. So now in terms of having the locator control, if I want to generate it, so I can do it as dynamic, or I can say manually I'll generate this locator control uh, when this particular item comes into the inventory. Okay, so this optionally I can select it. So if I am selecting it, I'll have to generate this locator control when I receive the item. So let's say I have received the item. So of course we will have certain in and out controls. So there are certain manufacturing industries wherein they will go for the QR code. So meaning it could be the QR code or it could be the barcode. So based on the integration level that we are looking at. So let's say this is QR code. Okay. So now when I get in this particular item, I will scan this QR code and I will record the entry. And similarly, when I manufacture or when I complete the manufacturing process and I send out this particular item, so again I will have a QR code and all those options scanned, and I will record the outward of this particular item or the stock. Okay. So that option is in terms of capturing the stock or maintaining the control in terms of stock. But this locator control which we are referring here is nothing but where exactly this particular item is located. Okay, so that's this option. And then there are certain companies which will work as a project. Let's take example as an pipe or the pipeline projects, which means that so for gas and the other industries, so this steel company will manufacture the pipes. Okay, so now this pipe will not be manufactured in one day or let's say in a month. So it will take 6 months. So this will be taken as a project there. So this will involve the resourcing, and this involves the bill of materials and the other components as well. So this will be tracked as the project. So if so for that case, we will need the PPM module also implemented. So if it is done, maybe we can enable this option, enable inventory tracking by project also. So probably we can track it by project one, project two, something like this. So this item will be handled by that particular project. Okay,
Okay.
so that's this option. And then we have by track by country. Okay, and then we have option to accept the substitute items. So let's say instead of item one, we are getting item two. So whether we are okay to accept the substitute items. So that's this option. And then we have option to allow negative balances. So this is in terms of unearned quantities. Okay, so whether we are okay with maintaining the negative balances. So let's say I don't want to use the negative balances, I can disable this option. So both the option, first and second. So this is nothing but balance is nothing but in terms of amount, and this is in terms of quantity, allow negative on and transactions. Okay. And then using the original receipt date is one of the optional setups that we can do it. So in terms of adding the receipt, so because when we are creating the receipt, we have two options, right? So one is that we can create the receipts or we can add to the existing receipt.
Mm-hmm.
So this option is for adding the receipt to the existing, I mean adding the lines to the existing receipt. Okay. So in that case, this will use the original receipt date. Okay.
Okay. So basically, if you check this option and if this item is for this particular item, if you are creating already receipt is created and you are adding this item in a new line, this will the original date will be reflected, right?
Right.
That receipt when it is created, rather than the create. Let's say I'm creating this today, 21st, but
Yeah.
the receipt was created, let's say on 19th, right? If I
Yeah.
this checkbox is clicked, then it will take the 19th as my receipt date. If it is not
Correct.
checked, then it would take the today's date.
Yeah. Correct. Okay. And then this is nothing but the round of options, because there are certain scenarios. Well, in case of soap manufacturing also, so let's say I'm purchasing this coconut oil in bulk. Okay, in tons I'm purchasing. So
Mhm.
now, when I say ton, it's not exactly the 1 ton or something like this. So it could be 1.09001. So now this option, we will set it as to precision. Okay. So if I enable this feature, so this will basically round off the quantity to precision, or whatever the limit that we have set it up. Usually it is the to precision, so that will get rounded off to that particular quantity.
Okay.
So that is this option. And then if we have any requirement to cancel the back orders, so we can enable this option. So this is basically part of order management. So
Okay.
this probably we'll discuss on the screen. So when we come to the order management module,
Okay.
and then this is in terms of costing again, the item cost. So use the current item cost is nothing but for each item we will have a specific price that is determined, okay, or the cost that is determined. So if I want to use the current cost, so probably I can enable this option, which is going to use the current cost of that particular item. And then these are the manufacturing items wherein we'll have the movement request. So let's say from assembly to the packaging department. So if I want to move it, so I'll say this will be created as the movement request. Okay.
Mhm.
So I have option to create that movement request here. Okay, so in terms of control, so we have option to replenish the items, meaning that if I want to have minimats planning defined in the system, so probably based on that automatically if I want to raise the request, so I can do that. So these are certain controls that I can use at the moment request level. Okay. So the first option explains us automatically delete the pics when moment is cancelled. So this I can enable it if I want to basically delete the pics automatically if I have cancelled the moment request. Else I will have to manually delete the pic releases. Okay, so that's this option, the first option. And then the second option is that for the closed moments, whether I wanted to enable this confirmation automatically. So if I enable this option, so the moment I close the moment request, so the pick release will be automatically confirmed and that particular line will be closed. So that's this option. Okay. And then these are the additional options that we have. So in terms of using this particular organization or classifying this organization as manufacturing unit, so this for this I can enable this option. Organization is a manufacturing plug, but this will not have any functionality or as such. It's just the option that we have to classify this inventory organization. Okay.
Okay.
And then this is related to the manufacturing, so sorry, maintenance. So there is a separate module called maintenance. Okay. So whatever the so this maintenance module is linked with help desk module. So meaning, so if there is a maintenance activity that needs to be taken up for this particular machine, or probably more than two or three machines. So we have, let's say 6 months once we have this maintenance activity, or yearly once we have this maintenance activity. So using this help desk, we can raise this as a request in the maintenance module, and the maintenance module will create the transaction as the repair and maintenance, and this will flow through. Okay, so this is linked with maintenance. So probably if we are implementing the maintenance module, probably we can enable this option. So where this will help us is that, so in the maintenance module, so we have option to select the inventory organization. So now if I'm going to use this module there, I mean this inventory organization there, so then I will have to enable this option. Okay.
Basically, this is when you're talking about the maintenance, it's a CRM you're talking about, right?
Yeah, correct. CRM module. Okay. And then if I want to represent this as contract manufacturer, this I can enable. Okay.
What
And
is the
then
significant contracting, right? So,
yeah,
okay.
contract manufacturer is nothing but, let's say I so let's take the same example as the manufacturing of pipes. Okay. So there are certain activities that I will do, and there are certain activities I will run to probably different party who can do this process and give it to me, and from there probably I'll take it up. Okay. So now if that is the case and this inventory is related to that, so probably I can say this is the supplier name and this is the supplier site. All those details I can enable. So
Okay.
this party is created as the organization here in Oracle.
Okay.
Okay.
Just one more quick query. The movement request that you are referring it to, it's not related to shipping, right? It's a peak web move order. It is not a peak web move order,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
Or is the
correct.
peak web move order?
No, PickWave is what I'm referring to.
Or it's a peak web move order. It's for related to shipping, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so then this is nothing but the logistics and the other third-party systems that if I want to integrate, so probably I can use it here. Okay. So then if this is linked to the, so similar to the supplier, so we have option to create the contract party as the customer as well. So which I can associate here. Okay. So this is first option. So in terms of handling this inventory. So then we have the lot and the serial number generation. So this is nothing but the unique number if we wanted to generate. So lot we have seen it. So how we wanted to generate it. Okay. And then okay, so before that we have the parent and the child lot generation as well, which if I want to generate I can have it. So I can have one batch as let's say 1000, and under that, if I want to have the child batch that needs to be generated, so that also I can do it. Okay. So for each lot, if I want to generate a serial number, so lot is basically for one batch of manufactured items, but when it comes to the individual product, it's the serial number which differentiate item 1 to item 2. Okay. So that also, if I want to enable the serial number generation, so I can do it at this level. Okay. And then this is nothing but the packing unit specifications that I can give. Okay. So probably if I want to give prefix and suffix, so which I can give it. So these are all the controls at the number generation level for a particular item. Okay. And then the item sourcing details. So sourcing is nothing but we are just trying to link between the organization. Okay. So first thing is that the picking rule. Again, if I have written the rules for the pick page, so which I can probably list it down here, but since we are doing it this particular configuration at first place, so we will not have this picking rules. So probably once it is created, we can attach it here. Okay. So these are basically the optional configurations or optional controls that we have. Okay. So the sub-inventory order or the locator order. So we can give order is nothing but the sequential number that we are referring. Okay.
What is
And that, yeah.
supplementary order? What is that?
Sorry, can you be a little
Yeah, so
louder?
sub-inventory order, what is that?
Yeah. So sub-inventory order is nothing but how do we want to set the sequence to default this particular inventory organization. So if I want to order the locator and the sub inventory, so I can mention it with the number. So let's say I wanted to give it as 1, or let's say I wanted to give as 4 or 5. So whatever the sequence that I wanted to give for both locator and the sub inventory, so I can define it here.
Okay. No, I'm trying to visualize it, how it works. Any particular example you can give it, or
Mm,
I'm not able to visualize it where it will be useful.
okay, so how do I explain this? Okay, maybe I'll explain you when we see
Okay.
the inventory module,
Okay.
because I love to show in the system, but I'm not sure how I can explain the order. It's just the
Okay.
order
After.
that we
Yeah.
set it up actually. So maybe I'll explain you when we see the inventory module.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
Okay. And then the pick confirmation if we need it. So probably we can enable this option.
Okay.
Okay. So then the overpicking for the movement request, all those notifications that we can enable it here, and then allowing the overpicking. Okay. And then populating the picked quantity at the pick release or the pick confirmation stage, so
Mm.
that also we can enable it. So then the picking exceptions, so the over again the same thing, right? So over quantity pickings, so that we can capture the exceptions as well.
Okay.
And then finally the item sourcing details. So this is part of this sourcing thing, so that we will attach. Okay. So now if I want to source, that is to order this particular item from this inventory organization, so I can say that this is the inventory organization, and then Probably if I have created the sub inventory, I can select that sub inventory also, but that is optional, but we have option to select that as well. Okay. And then if I want to enable the revision to the purchase order, so probably I can enable. So it's nothing but the change order that we are referring to. So if I want to enable, so I can just enable this option, purchasing by revision. Okay.
Okay, probably once we do this cycle, probably this will help me to
Yeah.
understand what it is, where it has
And
impact.
yeah. And then the distribution parameters. So the distribution parameters are nothing but the we have this or confusion logistics. Okay. So now if I want to enable this organization for the logistics, I can enable it here. Okay.
Okay,
So that is this option, and this is nothing but the DFO. Okay. So once we are done, so we can just say save and close. So which will complete creating the inventory organization. Okay. So from here, probably if we want to create the sub inventory, so which we can create it optionally. Okay, so the sub inventory creation we will again look at when we create the inventory using the inventory model. If when we are looking at the inventory model, we'll see those details. Okay, so for now I'm creating this inventory organization. So the next thing would be creating the item. Okay, so once we have created the item, so then we'll move on to the procurement configuration. Okay,
okay,
so I think it's two. So we'll pause here and we'll resume in the next session.
okay. So when will be the next session, Arun? When you will have time?
Yeah, that's what I'll have to check this thing. I'll check and confirm if I can do it in the weekdays.
Okay. So today, will we have any classes or we'll pause it for today?
No, today we'll pause it because I have
Ah, yeah.
so today we'll pause it here.